spiritual order founded by Chief Jegna Haru Yuya Asan Anu. Some of the components of Anu Nation are A New Life Global Ministries, Enlightenment and Transformation, Sadulu House, and Osiris Life Spiritual Services. SaduluHouse.com is the school component of Anu Nation, where spiritual empowerment through education and training is emphasized. One way that is accomplished is through our monthly webinars. Our webinars are packed with foundational information, rituals, and live instruction to empower your spiritual work. At SaduluHouse.com, you can view our diverse list of topics for this year that range from meditation to sex magic. And you can also register for any of the webinars at your convenience, sign up for our introductory Orisha class, schedule a spiritual reading, and sign up for the Anu Spiritual Training course. Enlightenment and Transformation is the media component of Anu Nation. Here, you can view all of our archived shows from over the years to our current segments. They include Chief Speaks, Masterminds Monday, Anu Asafo, Thunderground Thursdays, and Foundational Fridays. You can also visit us on our YouTube channels. They are Enlightenment and Transformation, Orisha Yoruba, and Anu Nation. Osiris Life Spiritual Services is for those who are ready to take the necessary actions to bring your life into holistic balance. Here we offer consistent monthly one-on-one coaching, solutions that are tailored just for you, practical hands-on self-development techniques that will accompany your monthly readings, and customized practical strategies designed for you that guarantee positive results. Simply choose the package that best fits your needs. And last but not least, AlphaOmegaStore.com. The Alpha Omega Store is our online botanica where we offer divination tools, herbs and incense, DVDs, books, and other hard-to-find ritual items. You can also get our best-selling foundational book, Grasping the Root of Divine Power. Other great works from Anu Nation are Shrine and Altar, Solutions for Dysfunctional Family Relationships, and Natural Hair for Young Women. All great books to assist you on your journey. To find out more on how to get involved with Anu Nation, visit our websites and YouTube channels and be sure to sign up for our monthly newsletter.
Peace. Peace and welcome everyone to another segment of Dawning Devotional, Dawning Drive, Sunrise Salutation, Community. It's all good, whatever we're calling it. Let me welcome you into this space. My name is Chief Yuya, and you are listening to a component of enlightenment and transformation. And I want to just welcome all of you who are called in live, as well as those of you who are slowly piling in from YouTube, and of course those of you who will listen in later from the archives. You know that for those of you who are current listeners, we started this month with our new topic of the equinox, and that subject started this Sunday. So I definitely advise those of you who have not caught up to Sunday's show, Sunday's Chief Speaks, that you go back and take a listen, because you will get your introduction, we'll say, to this month's topic of the equinox and the sciences that we'll be dealing with. But as some of you know, we started off just with really dealing with the positioning that we're in right now currently, which is, again, the darker side of things. And, you know, the equinox represents that equilibrium, and then we move into the lighter side of things. So we're just dealing with that right now. So I encourage all of you who have not checked that out, that you start there and then move forward with us. Also, this past Sunday, I know we had the men's call for the month, and I was informed that it was a great call. Some of the men reached out to me and let me know that it was just what the doctor ordered in terms of the medicine that they need. You know, a lot of times we deny ourselves each other. You know, we deny ourselves the strength that comes from communion, and I call it the brotherhood deprivation. So sometimes what happens is by the time we link up with each other, we end up talking for 3, 4, 5 hours because of that deprivation, which is not a good thing. That again, that's how you get picked off. Good dawning, Miss Mays. Greetings to you. So that's how we end up getting picked off often as a people, is through our segmentation. It's not a healthy thing to do. And we need to find more and more opportunities whenever we can assert them to present themselves for us to have healthy bonding experiences with each other. So I just want to, let the men know that, even though I wasn't present, and I didn't need to be present, so I wasn't present. I had other things to do. That I'm still there in spirit, and of course, still there monitoring. I always got an eye in the air, looking out somewhere. I'm gonna give you all the call-in number real quick. It's 515-605-9862. Feel free to call in. Hit the number 1 if you have something of substance to share with the people. And of course, if you don't worry about it. You don't need to. But, there was something that I wanted to just share on this dawning drive for those of you who are moving in to your strong to acquire wealth. And I certainly will that you are acquiring wealth and not just accumulating money, or seeking and chasing riches, but you're actually making moves to acquire wealth. So there's some ideas that I really wanted to drop on you. Good dawning, Sister Bonilla. Good dawning, Sister Bonilla. Thank you. I always have trouble with those double L's, giving it the Y sound. But yeah, man, just some ideas I wanted to kind of drop on you, and it may help you to kind of frame out what you want to do for this particular strong. All right. And before I do that, though, I'm going to start with the sonic libation. I like to give sonic libations because they put me in a certain headspace, which helps me to do what I do a little better. So we're going to start there, and then I'll come right back.
Ramadan Lord or Derni Berry. Ifa Moni. Talo Toa La San Barukun. Changoni. On Toa La San Barukun. Wani. Nje. Pioba Rititi. Pioba Burin. Pioba Deko So Ile. Baba Re Nko. Bí wọ́n bá fún ọ ṣe gbẹ̀gẹ̀rí, bí wọ́n bá fún ọ roka, bí wọ́n bá fún ọ lórúkọ àti àkókò àdìyẹ kan nǹkan. Ṣàngó ni bí mo bá tí ó tàn nínú padà sílé mi ni wọ́n ní Ṣàngó ó tó àlàsàn bárúkún. Orí ọ̀làmì bàbá mọ̀júbà. Orí ọ̀làmì bàbá mọ̀júbà. Ẹni orí bá bẹ̀bọ̀ rẹ̀ kò yọ ṣẹ́ṣẹ́.
All right, there we go. There's our verbal libation. And, and actually, let me tell you, we started off with Baba Metahochi. May he, of course, rest in power. Real powerful elder in our tradition who transitioned some time ago. But, so I should say real powerful Egun. But, a lot of times I like to play those verbal libations sometimes too in the beginning, because you know what it does too? Not only does it kind of set the mind in a certain space, but sometimes it also gets rid of those whose minds are not in the right space. Sometimes I like to play libations and see how the call numbers change when they come on, because you get a sense of who's calling in and who's calling in hungry and not hungry in that sense, that good hungry, but that ravenous, parasitical hungry. So they feed me, feed me, feed me, feed me. Oh, he stopped talking. I'm going somewhere else to get fed. So it's like a good little filtering too sometimes, So, and sometimes it just makes people, you get to know, you get to see who's who. It's like when you go into an event, could be a comedy event. You see that if any of you have ever had the pleasure of seeing Paul Mooney live, the great Paul Mooney, you can't go to a set that he does without seeing somebody walk out, which is like a filtering process. Who's ready for it? Who can take it and who can't? Is one of those type of things. But excuse me. So yeah, something we do, especially sometimes when we're starting on our work strong. And not everybody starts their work strong on Sundays. Some people start on Mondays and so forth and so on. But one of the things we do a lot of times is we lay out the habits or the garments that we want to wear for the strong. And you have some people who dress based on the day of the strong. This day I wear this color, that day I wear that color. And you have others who just go by feel. What I kind of stand in front of my closet, whatever jumps out at me is what I wear. Some people even eat that way. Stand in front of their refrigerator or their cabinets, and what jumps out at me is what I eat. Well, in looking at that idea or that analogy, a lot of times we don't realize that we can apply the same science to the way that we construct our lives, to the way that we move forward. A lot of times we don't realize that it's the same kind of process, almost in a sense, in the sense that our reality reconstruction or our reality focusing occurs the same way. And, when we arise for the new day, when we look to the east and we see that sun come forth, we have an opportunity in that moment to look at all of the things that create the day, to all of the things that form what the day is. And based on that, we can make the choice to say, okay, now what components or what paths or what vibrations do I feel today? Do I want to go into today? Because there's always a consistent stream that the ashe of your life is moving through, but it may not always take on the same exact form. Even when we look at the idea of an orisha, it's a seated or a selected consciousness. So, it's consciousness or a stream of consciousness, which of course we call ori, but which decides, okay, based on the energy or the moment of the time, I'm going to go in this direction or go in this direction in order to fulfill the mission. And your job is to be able to pull the appropriate tool or pull the appropriate consciousness for the moment and for the mission. And sometimes we're very lax in our reality choosing. We're very lax in how we move forward. Let me get a number real quick before I go on. Excuse me. And peace to everyone in the chat. I see the number was asked for. That's why I'm throwing it back in. I see it was in the chat, but I'm going to give it for all of you who are listening as well. 515-605-9862. Feel free. Oh, just hit the number 1. Right. Hit 515-605-9862. Hit the number 1 if you care to share something of substance. So again, it's that same ideology, and it's no different than when you're doing spiritual work and when you're working in a shrine. It's a lot of times it's not as formulaic as people may imagine. What you're striving to be able to do through your work is not necessarily repeat a rote set of instructions that were given to you by your initiator or by your elders or by your teachers. But what you're really studying to do each time is to find the pocket or to find the groove and to find the actual reality that is beckoning to come forth, the actual consciousness, the actual movement, the actual activity that is beckoning to come forth in that moment. So when you're unconscious or when you're unconsciously creating, peace, Sister Ma'at, peace, Brother Guru, peace, Brother Amun, peace, Sister Hopkinson, peace, Sister Wajet. Good dawning, good rise to you all. Good rise to everyone who's in the chat, who's listening, who's here. Good rise to you all. See, I always tell you about 20 minutes in, it's when everyone piles it. But and we're 19 minutes in. So yeah, it's the same concept or the same ideation in that Brother Wajet, I'm sorry, Brother Wajet, not Sister Wajet, Brother Wajet. I'm sorry, I'm scanning too quick with my eyes. I apologize for that. Okay. All right, brother. I see you putting your whole name in it. All right, brother. I ain't gonna give you everything. Give thanks, peace. He's like, actually, my name is, and let me give you my original title from Natural Born. All right. Nah, give thanks. I'm just messing with you, brother. But yeah, so it's the same idea when you're consciously creating. A lot of times we become victims to this thing that we hear as children, which is, we receive a lot of our original hex as children and we don't recognize it as so, but we hear things like, well, that's just the way it is. Or we hear things like, well, baby, that's just the reality of it. And you got to face reality. Well, excuse me, just like in fighting, when you're training a fighter, you always train them and you understand this simple thing. Your power is where your chest points to. Okay, real simple idea. Your power is always in the direction that your chest points to. So when you're fighting, a lot of times, and you want to get your opponent off balance, you always want their chest facing away from you, whether it be through your movement or whether it be through, you may pull their arm or hit them a certain way to throw their posture off, so their power is not facing you, but you always want your power facing them. So when your parent says as a child, well, that's the reality of it, you have to face it. Now you focus your ashe into a predetermined reality that's been given to you that may not be the reality that works best for the fulfillment of your purpose, but you're channeling and flowing your energy most likely because you're facing something. Remember, when you face something, again, that's where you direct your power to, especially as those who have a soul, those who have an ori, just by merely giving your attention to reality or giving your attention to a person, giving your attention to it. And I'm talking about crawling people, flower people, plant people, mineral people, because we're all people. We're just different kinds of people. Some people walk, some people fly, some people creep. We're all people. But by giving your energy as an ori holder to those particular components of the universe, you in fact enlive and engage and animate them. So flowing your energy through a predetermined reality that someone says to you, this is just the way it is. This is what you have to have. This is what it is. Now creates that that hex of fear around you, because you begin to become not necessarily, it's an unconscious creator, but you're creating through the direction of your consciousness before you're even taught that the direction of your consciousness creates. You see, so it's very similar, like when you wake up in the dawning and you say, okay, I'm going to wear this yellow shirt or this red shirt or this blue skirt or white dress or whatever, and you're doing it based on the vibes. So you can kind of almost even stand in your closet, close your eyes, and just kind of feel the vibration of what jumps out the most. And you say, okay, that's the one I'm supposed to wear today. Maybe I don't know why I'm supposed to wear that one today. I'll find out later. But that's the color, or that's the particular outfit that I'm supposed to wear today. But again, within this current society, there are people who use the statistics of human experience to choose where they should place their consciousness. So what happens is when you start to call forth an alternative path for yourself, what they use is human statistics to determine if that path is valid. As a child, you may say, like I heard this as a child. Here's one example. I used to like to find fossils for some reason. Well, I know the reason now, but I had a gift as a very small child to find things, money on the street. I still find stuff, phones. I'm always finding phones or cell phone chargers and things like that. But I used to always be able to find fossils too. And an elder told me once, he said, what do you want to be? I said, I want to be an archaeologist. He said, oh man, they don't make no money. And that was it for me. I was done. One little statement. They don't make no money. Nah, man, you got a brilliant mind. You should be an engineer. I was a little boy. I tell him he wasn't even a teenager yet. But it was, again, you're presenting to me a human statistic. And that idea of uncovering and researching and exhuming and bringing things to light that people thought were once lost. Well, that's what I do now as a teacher and as a chief. So we right back there anyway. But I could have did it a little earlier, as opposed to later on enrolling in college as an engineer major, much later on in my life from that moment. But you see how long lasting the hex can be. And again, no regrets, anything like that. But I'm just giving you an example of a lot of times we appropriate the value of our life purpose or the value of our choices and our decisions based on how we weigh them and categorize them, per human statistic. What we have known to work, what we have known not to work. And that ideation becomes how we choose the vibration for the day, or how we choose the vibration for our life, or how we choose the vibration for our year, without realizing that it's more beneficial for us to focus primarily on the vibration that we're feeling, the pull and the tug that we're feeling towards something, because that's usually going to lead us to manifesting the higher aspects of our purpose, as opposed to hindering that expansion because we have an allegiance to what is. Well, that's just the way it is. You got to face that. That's the reality of it. You see, so we block our ability to expand in the proper direction because we're located on what is really static and what is really dusty. And people look at things that are like we say in Yoruba, have the irupe. You have irupe and rup. There's two different kinds. One is dealing with sand and one is dealing with dust. And I did a whole show on dust, so you can go back and check out the dust show. I don't want to go back through that again. But sometimes we look at things that are dusty, and we say, okay, well, that's the path to go because that is standard and that is static. Excuse me. Now, I'm going to give you a little something that helped to spark the idea of this, of me sharing this thought on this day, not only based on some of the things that we dealt with in terms of Sunday segment, in terms of the equinox, but I was grabbing a book of mine that I was giving to some sharing some passages out of with someone yesterday, and I haven't cracked open the book in maybe 2017, 11 years. Yeah, 11 years. So I remember why I cracked it open in 06 and I didn't open back up. Well, I read it. I was done with it. Well, in the book, I found a little bookmark I made, and listed in that bookmark were things that in that time and in that period that I wanted, that I desired in life. And, you kind of sometimes it's just almost like finding an old vision board or something like that. And you look and say, oh, wow, some of those things maybe I have fulfilled and some of those things maybe I forgot, or through maybe some trials and errors, I've became very guarded of my visions to the point that the fortress of protection that I've put my visions in has now become a prison for them. So they haven't really gotten out. And I went down that list of some of the things that I had listed there. And I said, man, some of these things I have actually encased in a prison. I've incarcerated some of this vibration and some of this vision because of maybe the desecration that I've experienced of, some of those different ideas when I share them, and decided to say, okay, you know what, let me not share this anymore. Let me not try to pursue this anymore. And I jumped into another experience that may have been a bit more safe. And some of this may have happened on a subconscious level, so I'm adjusting the whole vibrational point of what I'm desiring to magnetize into my life because of maybe the control behaviors of others. And because of the control behaviors of others, I'm shifting the flow of my consciousness into a direction where I feel it's safer and maybe even a bit more understandable. And I'm not looking to necessarily take that bird's eye Shango view. Okay. To take that bird's eye Shango view. And a lot of times that comes from our desire to work from the outside in, where we're trying to control the circumstances around us or that surround us without realizing that you can't really control the circumstances that surround you. But in fact, you can magnetize yourself to a different point of activity, to a different focal point. You can drop another type of rope or another type of chain into your life based on how you're consciously creating the reality of your life. You see? So that was something that kind of came up. I looked at the book and I said, wow, this is interesting. A lot of these things that I put in here initially, I don't even think about anymore. Not on a conscious level. Some of them I do. And why is it that I have stopped thinking about them? And in some instances, it's because of the feelings that have been generated outside of me that I've decided to own and say, you know what, I'm going to hold myself responsible for the static and the stagnant creation or non-creation of others. I'm going to lower my vibration into their standard of non-creation, their standard of what isism. We'll call it that. What is ism? Well, this is what it is. So this is where we have to go with this. You see, as opposed to saying, no, actually, the compass of my feelings, the compass of my inclinations has informed me that there is a greater level of manifestation that's available to me. Because when a new day creates, when we look to the east and we see that new day has been created in that quadrant of Otun and our Opon Ifa, we see, okay, there are so many different components that make up the new day. And if I've gone through the night properly, I'm now properly empowered to choose them. Because what the night represents, what it provides for us, and I spoke about this yesterday, is power. You don't gain power through the things that exist that are seen. You don't gain power through Otun. You gain power through Osi. You don't gain power through the masculine, Oberine. You gain power through, Okurine. You gain power through the feminine, Oberine. Okay, so it's from the darkness, it's from the dark space that you pull your power in order to apply it and manifest it in the light. Now, that dark space that you're pulling your power from is your secret place. That's only understandable by you. And it holds no weight of statistic or judgment from the external perspective. But you can't pull power from what has already been done. So you may look at something that's dusty and the road that's been chosen more often. You say, I'm going to do that and I'm going to gain power that way. See, that's one attempting to control their surrounding circumstances through the acquirement of five sensory or three-dimensional power. Power doesn't come that way. Power comes through aligning with the soul. Well, how do you align through the soul? You have to close your eyes and go to the dark in a minute and see which component is vibrating the most. It's almost like being in a room full of conversation, and what you choose to do is to close your eyes for a moment and tune into a particular conversation. Or sometimes certain conversations jump out at you in a room of people talking. Well, that's the one for you. That's the direction you go into, you see. And the feelings of isolation and desolation and despair, sometimes that is our journey through the dark. Sometimes that is our journey through the quietness. Look at it in this sense. When you go into your home, and let's say, it's during the winter season, you're in a place that actually gets cold, you're not in the South, something. And you look at the thermostat on your wall, and the thermostat says a temperature that's cold for you. Well, what do? Do you now get upset with the thermostat and say, why are you telling me my house is 55 degrees or my house is 60 degrees? Why are you telling me that? Do you get upset with that and say, well, that's just what it is. I have to resolve myself to misery because this is what the reality is telling me? Or do you use the tools that you have to raise the heat of the house, which is really raising the vibration, but raise the heat of the house? See, a lot of times through our sick and sadistic allegiances to whatism, right? We'll take the compass of emptiness and desolation and say, well, this is where I'm supposed to be, without realizing sometimes that that's just a passage. Anybody who does any great work will always have what they call the dark night of the soul, will always have that moment where they go through absolute desolation and despair in order to arise again or resurrect again. This is the aspect of the Obatala, the Tala. You're going to be imprisoned by Shango. Your white garments are going to be dirty. You're going to be mistaken for someone else, and you're going to have to sit there and hold your integrity and character in order for the fathers or the direction or the guidance in you to be resurrected. Remember, Tala is resurrection. It's not just white cloth, but it means to resurrect, to rise again. Okay, so it's really, again, it's the Osirian aspect of the Osirian story. There's a value when Osiris goes into the underworld and he says, you know what, Anpu, I'm going to hold this down. I'm going to become the archetype of the underworld. But I had to come down here in order to do this. And then he's resurrected in order to create Haru, or to create Orun. Because remember, Haru and Orun in our Yoruba to our Medu are connected terms and ideas. Okay. But there had to be that dark moment where I gather my power in order to extend and spring myself forth. And going into that darkness is never going to be subject to someone's statistic unless you allow it to be. And the only time that happens is when you're choosing a reality or a vibration that's already put in front of you. But I guarantee you that vibration will not have vibrational harmony with your soul. And what do we tend to do? Blame the person who put the whatism in front of us, who put that reality in front of us. Well, they told me this, and they told me I should go and be a doctor, and I didn't want to be no doctor, but that's how it is. That's how, my parents didn't do right by me. They wasn't conscious. But you have a compass inside of you that you chose to ignore. You chose to do that. Even as you matured into an adult and had the ability to make your own decisions, that vibration was still in there. Now, it may have been dimmed a bit because you had been beating up and suppressing it for so long, but it was still there vibrating. And you began to take on a culture where you ignored it. The gut, the shoot, the soot, the God was ignored inside of you. So now you lose your seat of power. But it's still in there trying to call you back to your righteous and regal privilege, if you would so choose to take it. So as you even pick out your clothes this dawning, give some thought. Close your eyes for a moment and say, you know, what can I wear today that will bring me closer to my path, bring me closer to my destiny? What music can I listen to that will bring me close to my destiny? Kind of almost go through your entire day with a sense of conscious creation, even if you have to go through your day with your eyes closed. Go through it with the sense of conscious creation. You see? Peace, Miss Harrison, and as well as Brother Grill. And when you start to vibrate at that sense, what you start to see is that, like I say so often, if you do not choose a culture, one will be chosen for you. You start to see that the conscious creation of a reality is a conscious choosing and a conscious creating, as well as cultivating and engineering of your personal life culture, which allows you to fulfill your purpose. Now, when you're not doing that and you're out of vibrational harmony, you get stuck in that desolation. You get stuck of walking into that house with the thermostat that says 60 or 50 degrees and you don't know what to do. You don't know how to turn the dial or to hit the button and say, all right, let me bring this up. You don't even know, well, hey, I can actually program the house heat to turn up maybe 40 minutes before I can get home. You see, because you start understanding that consistent formulas create consistent results. Consistent formulas create consistent results. It's not just about, I need some rent money this month. Let me go to Oshun. Let me go to Ajay Saluga. Let me go to this energy, Het Haru, that energy, to get some rent money. And then when you fall back into your space, I did the rent and now I got to do it again. Consistent formulas create consistent results. What are the archetypes and the energies that are always consistent in your life, always popping up, always coming through? You see, that's your Egun trying to show you, listen, this formula will always work for you. This is consistent. And it may not work for anyone else. This is your power. Consistent formulas create consistent results. That has been our Dawning Devotional. I am Chief Yuya. If you're not a member of the Anu Spiritual Training, join the Anu Spiritual Training. Join the Anu Spiritual Training Challenge. I was trying to get all of that out in one breath. I didn't mean to sound like a used TV salesman. But give thanks to everyone who is tuned in. And like I told you, the times would change a little bit. Times of the show the same. I'm not giving you a 2-hour lecture every day. All right? It doesn't take that long to make the point. All right? So I will speak to you all tomorrow. Until such time, give thanks, move strong, and move safe today. All right.